gardening or this way of doing things or that way of doing things, and it's not. It's very much about applying these design principles. But one thing you will see a lot in gardens that apply permaculture principles is mulch. And the reason we use mulch is, again, looking to nature. Nature doesn't have bare soil. You rarely see bare soil in nature, except when there's been disturbance by an animal or by a tree going over, or by fire. And when you do see bare soil, it's not bare for long. That happens. Because there are many plants that are perfectly evolved to find the bare soil and grow. The pioneer plants go for bare soil. And so that's what happens in gardens. Is the reason people are endlessly weeding is because the plants that are designed to go to bare soil are like, great, thank you, I'm in. So one way to prevent that is by covering the soil, always. Another reason to cover the soil is that our soil is just such a key part of any gardening. I mean, it's just so completely key. And the reason it's key is because of the life in the soil that does all the processes that produce the fertility for plants. You know, fertility from plants doesn't just come from donkey poo. That donkey poo doesn't just go into the plant. It has to be transformed by soil organisms or fungus and then fed into plant roots. Without that, it doesn't happen. Or what happens in monoculture, in big industrial farms, is that a little bit of the fertilizer goes to the plant and the rest just goes into the water. So for really truly healthy plants that need all the micronutrients, we need a lot of soil life. And not just the worms, the minhocas, but all the smaller stuff as well. Oh, there's a great, I can't remember the figure. It's something ridiculous, like there's more microorganisms on the head of a pin, something like, than there are people in the world.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's
billion.
a teaspoon.
Yeah. No, that's a different one. That's
Even ourselves, we have 10 different microorganism cells for each cell of ours.
Right. So they're just absolutely key and thriving, and they need a good environment. And what they like is they don't like the soil to get very dry, and they don't like big changes in temperature. So by covering the soil, we can keep the water in, so it has to be wet before you put it on. Keep the temperature quite even, and keep the microorganisms happy. And there's many different ways we can mulch. This is cardboard, which is great because it's a waste product. I don't use it all over, but in places it's really good. And underneath there's layers and layers of other vegetable material, donkey poo, comfrey leaves, which is all food for the microorganisms. So another way of mulching is just with vegetation. So here we're just starting to mulch with the weeds that we've been taking up, and then the strimming that's just happened will gather all that grass and all that will go, so it won't be bare soil for long. Another good mulch is the donkey poo, because if donkey poo is exposed to the sun, it dries very quickly. So that means even though it looks like soil, things hopefully won't grow in it. And the other one, my favourite actually, is the living mulch. So this is using other plants as mulch because they're covering the soil. And this is perfect because then they're interacting with all the soil microorganisms. And if we use a plant like clover, This is also fixing nitrogen in the soil on its roots, because it's a legume. So that's perfect. It's just another multifunctional plant. It's covering the soil, it's keeping the microorganisms happy, and it's fertilising at the same time. I mean, that's just fantastic.